The ruins beneath the sand, the wind howled over the red dunes of planet Elos. Dust swirled in circles, dancing above the scorched ground. Most travelers avoided this place. The old world beneath the sand was said to be cursed. But Tom wasn't like most. Tom was a salvager. He didn't believe in ghost stories. He believed in parts, metal, and forgotten tech. He had been walking for 2 days when his scanner lit up. There was something big buried under the ground, something ancient. He wiped the sweat from his forehead and smiled. It was time to dig God hours past, as Tom used his tools to cut through layers of sand and collapsed stone. Finally, the ground opened up, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside was silence, cold, still, and strange. He stepped carefully inside. His flashlight moved across walls, covered in unknown markings. Alien symbols. At the center of the room stood a tall glass pod, cracked but still intact. And inside it was her. She looked like a girl, but not. Her skin was silver blue. Her eyes were shut, and long white hair floated in a soft blue mist. Strange armor covered parts of her body armor that looked like it had grown into her. Tom stepped closer. His scanner blinked red. The system called it a weapon, something powerful, dangerous. Cursed object, it read in old galactic text. Locked for a reason. But Tom didn't feel fear. He felt pity. She looked asleep, not evil. Trapped, alone for who knew how long. He moved to the console and wiped the dust away. The symbols blinked softly. His translator kicked in. Warning, do not release. Hostile, broken. Still, something in her expression looked peaceful, not broken, not hostile. He placed his hand on the panel. His suit's AI asked him to stop. He didn single quotes T dot with a deep hum. The pod began to open. Steam hissed. The lights flickered. Tom stepped back, hand on his sidearm just in case. Then her eyes opened. They were violet, glowing faintly in the dark. She looked around in confusion, then at him. Her lips moved. No words, just a small sound, like a whisper. She tried to stand, but fell forward. Tom caught her. She was cold, light, and trembling. You're free now, Tom said quietly. The glow in her eyes shifted. And for the first time in years, she spoke soft, broken galactic standard. You chose to release me? She asked. Tom nodded. She stared at him for a long moment. Then, I choose you. He didn't know what that meant. But the room shook suddenly, as if the old base had sensed her release. Ancient machines came alive. Walls lit up with red symbols. I was made for war, she said, standing on weak legs. But now, I am yours. Tom had no idea what he had just done. But he knew one thing. The stories were true. The weapon was real. And now she had chosen him. Asterisk, the cursed power awakens Tom. Help the strange girl sit against the wall while the chamber buzzed with power. The walls glowed red. Ancient defenses were waking up. His AI warned him again. Leave now. Dangerous artifact has activated. But Tom didn't move. He looked at her, this alien girl, this weapon. Her body trembled, her fingers glowing faintly with blue light. She blinked slowly, as if trying to remember what pain was. What's your name? He asked gently. She shook her head. I was not given one. I was called Unit 13, but that is not who I am. Tom nodded. Then you need a real name. We'll figure one out later. Suddenly, a beam of red light shot down from the ceiling. A mechanical voice echoed from above. Security breach. Forbidden's weapon released. Terminate all biological threats. Metal arms unfolded from the walls. Drones with bright red eyes hovered in, spinning and charging their weapons. Tom pulled out his pulse pistol. It was small, old, and barely worked against scrap bots, but it was all he had. "Can you fight?" he asked her. The girl looked down at her hands. Energy crackled in her palms. "I don't remember how," she whispered, voice shaking. "But something inside me wants to." The first drone fired. Tom rolled to the side and shot back. Sparks flew. The girl stood up slowly, her feet steadying, her body glowing brighter. Her armor shifted, forming a hard plate over her chest. Her eyes turned fully violet. She raised her hand. A wave of blue fire burst from her palm and melted. The drone in mid-air. Tom froze. She didn't seem surprised. That felt familiar. More drones swarmed in. Tom ducked behind a pillar while she stepped forward calmly. Her arms moved like she was remembering an old dance. Energy shields flared around her as laser blasts bounced off harmlessly. One by one, the machines fell. In less than a minute, it was over. Smoke filled the chamber. Burnt metal littered the floor. The girl stood in the center of it all, breathing heavily. "I was built for this," she whispered, looking down at her hands. "But I was also cursed." Tom stepped out and approached her carefully. "Cursed how?" "My mind was twisted," she said. "Back then, I followed any command. No thoughts, no mercy. A living tool for war. But you didn't order me. You freed me." Tom looked at her with growing understanding. "Maybe that's why you still have control. Maybe you broke the curse yourself." She looked up at him. Her expression softened. "Then stay with me. Please, don't leave." Tom nodded without hesitation. "You're not alone anymore." Far above, in orbit, an old satellite detected her awakening. A signal went out silent and deadly. Across the stars, someone received it. The cursed weapon had returned, and she wasn't alone this time. Asterisk, a signal to the stars, far above the red world of Elos. A silent satellite blinked to life for the first time in centuries. It sent out a burst of coded data into deep space, an ancient emergency protocol that hadn't been triggered since the War of the 13. It carried one message: Unit 13 has awakened. Terminate immediately. In a dark part of the galaxy, a command ship received it. A tall creature with skin like cracked stone read the message and hissed. "The cursed weapon lives again. And this time, it has chosen a human." He gave a single nod, and the war fleet began to move. Back on Elos, Tom and the alien girl who still had no name walked through the tunnels beneath the sand. The old base was crumbling behind them. They had to get out before everything collapsed. Tom kept looking at her, still trying to understand who or what she really was. "Why did they curse you?" he asked. She walked slowly, her eyes downcast. "I was built by a council of empires. They created many weapons like me, but I was the strongest. Too strong. I followed orders without question, even when those orders were cruel." She paused. "One day, I disobeyed. I refused to destroy a city full of children. That's when they cursed me, locked me away, called me broken." Tom frowned. "So, because you chose mercy, they punished you?" She nodded. "That's not a curse," Tom said. "That's a sign you were more than just a weapon." She looked at him, surprised. They climbed out of the ruins into the fading sunlight. The red sky stretched wide. Tom's ship, a small rusted freighter, sat nearby. It wasn't fancy, but it still flew. As they neared the ship, the girl stopped and touched her chest. "I feel something," she whispered. Tom followed her gaze upward. A sharp light streaked through the sky. Then another, and another. Dozens of dark ships were entering the atmosphere. They followed the signal, she said. Her voice was calm, but her hands began to glow again. "They know I'm free." Tom stared at the ships, His pistol felt useless now. "Can we fight them?" She looked into his eyes. "If you fight with me, I won't let them take me again." Tom stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You're not going back in a cage. Not while I'm here." For the first time, she smiled a small, broken smile. Then the first dropships landed on the ridge. Troops in heavy armor marched out, weapons aimed. A voice echoed through speakers. "Return the cursed unit to our control. Human, step away." Tom raised his weapon. The girl stepped in front of him. Her body lit up like a star. Asterisk, they came to take her, but she chose to fight. The ridge echoed with heavy footfalls. Dark-armored soldiers spread out in a line, weapons humming. Their armor bore the same symbol etched on the ancient chamber. A circle split by lightning, a mark of the ones who built her. Tom stayed behind the girl, gripping his pistol, though it felt more like a toy now. The wind picked up, sweeping red. Sand around them as the voice spoke again from a tall, armored figure in the lead. "Unit 13, you are not authorized for release. Return now. This will be your only warning." The girl didn't move. Tom whispered, "Do you know him?" She gave a small nod. "Commander Dre. He was the first to test me in battle. He thinks I'm still his." She stepped forward. Her voice carried across the wind. "I chose freedom." "I chose him," she said, pointing to Tom. "You won't take me again." The soldiers raised their rifles. Tom tensed, ready to run or die trying, but she raised her hand. Her glow brightened blue light spreading from her fingers, moving up her arms like rivers of fire. She looked taller now, her body armored by energy, her silver blue skin glowing like molten steel. Commander Dre stepped back. "So be it," he growled. "All units fire." The sky lit up. Bolts of red energy rushed toward her like a wave. She threw up her hand and shouted. A shield of pure energy exploded outward. The blast struck it and scattered like sparks. Then she moved fast. Too fast for Tom to follow. She was in their ranks within seconds. The first soldier fell with a burst of blue light. The second flew backward from a pulse wave. The third fired mist, then screamed as her energy surged into his armor, disabling it instantly. Tom stood, frozen, watching as the girl, this so-called cursed weapon, fought like a force of nature. She didn't kill. She disarmed, disabled, overwhelmed. With every step, she pushed them back. Asterisk. Commander Dre barked orders, but his troops were in chaos. Finally, she stopped in front of him. "I remember your voice," she said coldly. "You told me I was nothing but a weapon, that I didn't deserve a name." Dre raised his heavy plasma cannon. "You don't." She didn't wait. A flash of light, a wave of force, and his weapon exploded in his hands. The blast knocked him back 10 meters. She walked over and stood above him. "You were wrong," she said. Then she turned her back on him. Tom rushed over to her as the rest of the enemy troops lay scattered, unconscious or retreating. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, breathing hard. Her glow faded slightly. "I didn't lose control. Not this time." Tom smiled. "You were amazing." She looked away. "I wasn't trying to be. I was just protecting the one who freed me." Above, the dark fleet began to regroup in orbit. New ships arrived. Heavier, larger. "They're not done," she said quietly. Tom looked up, his smile fading. "Then neither are we." Asterisk, the name she chose night, fell over the desert of Elos, but the sky was anything but peaceful. Dozens of alien warships hovered in orbit, casting a faint, shifting glow above the sand. Tom stood at the edge of his camp, looking up with narrowed eyes. He knew they'd come again. And next time, it wouldn't just be soldiers. It would be fire from the sky. Behind him, the girl sat quietly beside the fire. She stared into the flames, her eyes soft, her armor dim. Now, the power inside her had gone quiet, but Tom knew it could return in an instant. She was still dangerous, still capable of incredible destruction. But now, he also knew she was something else. Someone. Tom sat next to her. "You did the right thing back there," he said. She nodded. "I didn't want to hurt them, but I won't go back. Not to chains, not to orders." A moment of silence passed. Then Tom asked, "Do you want a name now?" She looked over at him, surprised. "I've never had one." "Then you deserve one." She looked back at the fire, thoughtful. "When I fought, I remembered what they called me. Unit 13. Tool. Asset. But you saw me as more than that. You gave me a choice." Tom smiled. "Then choose your name." She closed her eyes. The wind brushed through her white hair. Finally, she whispered, "Lyra." Tom nodded. "Lyra. It fits." She smiled, a real smile this time. "Thank you." Suddenly, his communicator beeped. Static crackled before a voice cut through. "Unknown Terran ship. This is Fleet Command. We picked up hostile signals over Alos. We're sending help. Hang tight." Tom grabbed the device. "This is Tom. I'm not alone. There's someone here you need to protect." "Understood," came the reply. "ETA, 2 hours." Lyra looked up at the stars. "They're going to send something worse before your people arrive." Tom stood. "Then we hold the line." She rose too. Together, they moved quickly, preparing defenses. Tom reactivated an old pulse barrier. Lyra reshaped pieces of metal with her energy, forming makeshift shields and spikes. She moved with calm precision, her mind sharper now than when she first awoke Dot as they worked. She spoke softly. "Back when I was locked in the chamber, I used to dream, but I didn't know what I was dreaming about. Now, I think I was waiting." "For what?" Tom asked. She looked at him. "For you." Tom paused, not knowing what to say. He just nodded and kept working. Dot far above. One of the enemy ships broke formation and began to descend. It was larger than the last, sleek, black, and humming with energy. A war barge. Lyra's eyes glowed again. "They're not giving up. They'll burn this world to get me back. Then they'll have to go through both of us." As the war barge neared the surface, Lyra stepped forward. Now she had a name. Now she had a choice, and she had chosen him. Asterisk, the war barge lands. The air vibrated with deep, heavy hums as the war barge descended. It wasn't just a ship. It was a message, a threat, a hammer meant to crush anything below it. Tom stood behind a low ridge, rifle slung over his shoulder, eyes narrowed as dust swirled around them. The ground shook as the massive vessel touched down 1/2 kilometer away, sending waves through the sand. Lyra stood still, staring at the dark ship, her violet eyes glowing brighter by the second. Her long white hair floated in the energy rising. From her skin, she wasn't scared. Not anymore. A giant ramp lowered Dot out, came a single figure Dot tall, armored in black and red. A thick collar wrapped around his neck with glowing red sigils likely to protect him against Lyra's power. In his hand, he carried a command baton pulsing with raw control codes. She stepped forward before Tom could stop her. The figure raised his voice. "Lyra, you are not built to feel. You are not built to choose. You are a weapon. Come back and be what you were made to be." She didn't flinch. Tom walked beside her. "You know him?" She nodded. "His name is Varric. He was the one who locked me away." Varric stepped forward. "Your powers are unstable. You think you've broken free. But you will destroy the human beside you if you try to be more than what you are." "I know who I am now," Lyra said, voice calm but strong. "And I will never serve you again." Without warning, The command baton in Varric's hand pulsed with red light. Lyra gasped, her body trembled. Her knees buckled. Tom caught her. As she nearly fell. "What's happening?" "He's using the override code," she groaned, her hands twitching. "Trying to take my mind," Varric smirked. "You forgot one thing, Lyra. I hold the master command." Tom looked at Lyra. "Can you fight it?" Tears welled in her glowing eyes. "Not alone." Tom grabbed her hand. "Then don't. I'm here." The moment their hands touched, a shockwave burst outward. The red pulses from the baton flickered and died. Lyra's armor turned white-blue, glowing stronger than ever. She stood tall. The curse shattered. Varric's eyes widened. "Impossible." Lyra's voice thundered across the field. "He broke your code. He gave me a name. He gave me freedom." With a roar, Varric signaled his army. Hundreds of drones and soldiers began marching out of the war barge. Tom and Lyra stood. Back dash to dash back dot. She raised a shield of energy. Dot, he loaded. His rifle. The first wave charged. They didn't run. They stood their ground. Dot together. Dot asterisk. She was made to kill, but she chose to love. The sand shook as the enemy charged. Drones flew overhead. Armored soldiers marched in tight formations, and cannons from the war barge powered up with a deep hum. Red lights blinked across the battlefield like angry eyes. Tom's heart pounded, but he didn't move. He stood beside Lyra, watching her aura grow brighter, calm, steady, and powerful. "You don't have to do this alone," he said. She glanced at him, a soft smile on her lips. "I'm not alone anymore." With a motion of her hand, Lyra formed a dome of shimmering energy around them. The first wave of plasma blasts struck it and scattered like harmless sparks. Then she stepped forward, through the shield, into the heart of the storm. Her movements were graceful, like a memory reborn. She dodged, deflected, disarmed. With each pulse from her hands, an enemy fell, not dead, but stunned, disabled, harmless. She didn't kill. Tom joined her, taking shots with his rifle. He wasn't as fast, not as strong, but he moved with purpose. Where she made space, he covered it. Where she shielded him, he fired back. Varric, still watching from the ramp, growled and slammed his baton into the ground. A shockwave of control energy blasted across the field. Lyra staggered for a moment, but stayed upright. "She's resisting." One of the soldiers shouted in panic. "She's learning," Tom corrected. Lyra floated into the air, her body glowing so bright it was hard to look at her. The curse inside her, the command systems, the chains, they were gone now. Burned out. Broken. She raised both hands. Her voice echoed like thunder. "You created me to obey, but now I choose. I choose life. I choose peace." "I choose him?" A final pulse exploded from her chest, a wave of white-blue energy that stretched across the desert like a rising sun. The war barge cracked. The soldiers dropped their weapons, systems failing. Varric screamed as his command baton shattered in. His hand. Then silence. Only the wind remained. Tom stood still, blinking through the dust. The battlefield was quiet. No enemy moved. Lyra floated down beside him, her glow slowly fading. "You did it," he whispered. She shook her head. "We did." She looked tired but peaceful. "The curse is gone." He smiled. "What happens now?" She looked to the sky. From above, 3 human ships descended, Terran vessels, answering his earlier call. As they landed, troops and medics rushed out, but none of them pointed weapons at her. They only stared. Voice from the lead ship crackled through Tom's comb. "We picked up your signal." Who is she?" Tom looked at her, then back at the sky. "She's not a weapon. Not anymore. She's Lyra." Lyra took his hand, and for the first time in her life, she walked toward others, not as something feared, not as something owned, but as someone free, asterisk,